So next I'll talk about Hiren's BootCD. Now booting this is rather tricky. One way you can boot the Hiren's ISO is to change the file extension to winvh. Now if you do this, you can boot to the Mini XP on Hiren's, but a lot of the DOS ISOs that you use and the some of the other functions won't work very well. So let's just try that and you'll see what I mean. So there's the Hiren's menu, and again we can use a .txt file there to change the menu entry, and I'll just run Mini Windows XP to show you it works. So here we are. Notice we've got all of the icons there. So if I go to HPCD menu, now let's go back to the main menu again and run Hiren's again, and this time we'll try the DOS programs. You can see we can choose a variety of DOS programs, so let's choose backup tools, maybe partition saving. So to make Hiren's work properly, we need to extract the files from the ISO and put them on the Easy2Boot USB flash drive. So let's run 7-zip and open the archive, and we need to extract that to the root of the flash drive. There we are, and having done that, we can delete this ISO because we don't need it anymore. And if we look in the root, you see our HBCD folder. We don't need this boot folder. We don't need the hbcd.txt file or the changes file, so we can delete those. And if you look in the docs folder, the sample menu files, and you'll see that in here there's actually a Hiren's CD extracted menu, and if we double click on that, it tells us that we need to copy it to the ISO main menu folder or the ISO utilities folder, or basically any folder we want the menu entry to appear in. So let's just copy this and put it in the main menu folder. Now I could put it in here, or I could put it in the MNU folder. It doesn't really matter, because if it's an MNU file, all folders underneath the main folder is searched. So let's just put it in there, and now let's see what this looks like. So I've pressed F11 to run QEMU, and you can see here we have the menu entry here, which of course you can change by changing the .mnu file if you like, and we'll just test this now for the DOS part. So there's a DOS program, choose a backup tool, and we'll choose partition saving. Now because this is on an NTFS drive, we need to scroll down when we get this driver's pop-up to the NTFS driver, so we need to load the DOS NTFS driver, and then it will be able to access the HBCD folder which is on the flash drive, and it should now run the partition saver without a problem. So now the next thing I want to do is to change the background on Easy2Boot, and all you do is copy a .bmp, a .bitmap file, which is a high colour bitmap, so 24 colours or 32 colours, into the ISO folder, and the name should be either mybackground.bmp, or if you compress it to a gzip file using 7-zip to make it smaller, you can call it .bmp.gz, and this will automatically be picked up by Easy2Boot and used as the background file as long as it's in the _ISO folder. And there we are, you can see that we've now changed the background to a blue background. Now there are lots of ways to change Easy2Boot, and the main way to do this is to use a myETB config file. If you look in here in the ISO folder, there's a sample myetb.config file. And if I drag this over here, you'll see that there are lots of commented lines in this file. So typically one hash symbol is a comment which you should leave alone. If it's got 3 hash symbols in front of it, it means you can remove those 3 symbols and the space to actually make the feature active. So if you read down this, you'll see there's lots of ways to change the colour of the Easy2Boot menu. You can change the headings, so you can define your own headings for Easy2Boot. You can define the other menu headings, so your Windows Vista install, Server 2008 install, etc. You can change those headings if you want to. The text that appears at the bottom of the menu, and you can change that. That's the footer text. You can change that if you want to. You can specify a different background file here. You can either have a bitmap or a GZ, whichever one of those exists it will use. You can change the graphics mode from 800 by 600 to 640 by 480. Just put 600 in there. I'd advise you not to use 1024 because some netbooks, for instance, can't display in 1024 mode. You can see here you can change the colour of the text, the highlighted text in the menu or the normal text, the help text that appears below the menu, the console text, which you'll sometimes see when Easy2Boot runs and enumerates files, and the colour of the border that surrounds the menu, the square box that surrounds the menu. You can change that colour as well. You can also change the position of the menu itself, where it starts, the right start, so how far along from the right hand side it starts, how many items there are in the menu, the width of the menu, the width of the border that surrounds the menu, and where the help text is going to start on the Easy2Boot window. You can dictate the position of the footer help text at the bottom of the menu, and you can see here there's ways of setting passwords, etc. So what you do is you basically rename this file to myetb.config. And I've got one here which I'll go through with you. So this file first of all sets, this config file sets a password of Fred, and there's also a master password which is Doris. You'll see what happens when I boot this in a minute. I've set up a keyboard patch, so I'm using a UK keyboard because I'm from the UK, so this changes around the dollar and the hash, etc. To suit the UK keyboard. You may or may not need to do this, depends on what features you run and what hotkeys you use. I'm going to change the font file as well, so I'll use this terminus font file which is in the fonts folder. I'm not going to number the entries in the menu, so I'm turning the auto number feature off by using this code here. This is all detailed in the sample config file, myetb config file. I'm going to beep the speaker twice, although you won't hear it because in an emulator this doesn't work, but it does on a real machine. So when the menu loads, it'll go beep beep to let you know the menu's loaded. I'm going to set a hotkey, an F4 hotkey, which will boot off the hard disk. So whenever I press F4 in any menu, it will boot off the hard disk rather than the USB drive. I'm going to change the colours around a bit. So here are some colours that colour definitions that I've changed. And the heading colour and the footer colour here I've changed. I've changed the menu position here. So let's see what this looks like. And because I've set a master password of Doris, I think I used, then we can't actually boot to the Easy2Boot menu. So I'll just try some rubbish. It just says wrong password. So now I'll try Doris, which is the one I set, and it'll now boot to the Easy2Boot menu. And if you remember, I set another password of Fred, which is the menu password, which stops people from editing the menu unless they enter a password. I'll show you how I've done this. So normally if I press E, let's say on this menu here, if I press E in grub for DOS, that would normally allow you to edit the menu, but because I've set a password, it doesn't work. So now I press P and I get a prompt at the bottom there for password, and the password I set was Fred, so I'll enter Fred and it's accepted it now. So now if I press E, I can now see what that menu entry actually is, and I can edit it if I want to. So if I press E again to edit, it'll allow me to edit it, or if I press escape it'll just go back. So that's how I can get into the menu and edit it and see what's going on and set a password. You'll notice the font has changed, and the heading has changed here, the colours have certainly changed, and there's no F7 in the menu entry here, and if I press F4 it'll boot to the hard disk. Now I'll just look at these set reader options, and what these two do is they suppress the messages on startup of Easy2Boot. So I'll just save that file and we'll see what that looks like now when we boot up. So here's the password again. Now before we had lots of enumeration messages, but you should see now that we don't get any, so it's just a blank screen. It's not displaying anything. And there we go. So notice that the screen was blank until we got to the actual menu itself being listed. But by using this code here, which again is in the sample my2b.config file, we can make sure that the background is displayed as early as possible. So I'll just demonstrate that now. So let's put the password of Doris in again. You see there are no messages here. QEMU is quite slow, so this is a lot faster in real life. And if you want the messages displayed, just change those reader P variables in the config file, and it'll actually enumerate the files on the top of this screen before it goes to the menu. So our menu here is just, you see, in order, and it's alphabetically ordered, and we can change the order. I'll just show now how to put a gap in the menu. If you want to group these items into various groups, you can put a gap in, and I'll show you how to do that now. So if we go to the ISO docs sample menu files folder, you'll see there's an a blank menu entry.mnu file. So let's just copy that, go to main menu, and copy that in. And make sure that we're ordering these. So what's going to happen now is there's going to be a blank menu entry after the ubcd.iso here, but before the partition magic ISO here. If we wanted a blank menu entry to be listed first of all, then we'll need to change this. So for instance, if I made this $, a blank menu entry, then the first there would be a gap before these two ISOs were listed. So I'll show you what that looks like now. There's now a gap there. I move the cursor down. Actually, the default is set up as menu item 1, so maybe we don't want that because it highlights the blank entry. So maybe the Hirens is the most useful one that we want to run. So it starts from 0, so that's item 0, that's item 1, that's item 2, that's item 3. So we want to make menu 3 the default, so let's change that to 3, and let's change the timeout of 5 seconds, and it should now reboot. And there we are, it's selected Hirens as a main menu, and it's going to actually run Hirens now automatically. That. Okay, now maybe we want to speed the loading of the main menu up. You might have a lot of ISOs in the main menu, and it might take quite a few seconds or even a minute or so to actually enumerate all the files. Well, there is a way of speeding this up. You see we have a FASTLOAD yes file here. So what we do is we copy that to the root of the Easy2Boot drive. So let's just paste that in. And I'm also going to edit this ETB file just to make things a bit clearer. So one thing we can do to speed up the loading is to not load the font file. So if we set no unifont to 1, then it won't load the font file, and loading of the menu will be a second or so quicker if we do that. The other thing I'll do is just get rid of this clearing the menu code here and here, so that we can see it actually enumerating the files on boot up. So we should see here now, we get all the messages as usual. There's enumeration messages, and it's looking at the menu files, etc. And it's at the bottom, it says FASTLOAD menu has been refreshed. So that really wasn't any faster than it was before. Except, however, if we now reboot to this, we should find the speed's increased. So let's try booting this. So we get the same startup messages. But when it comes to enumerating the files, which is just after this message, it says pre-cached FASTLOAD menu loaded, and there we are, bang. So it hasn't needed to enumerate the ISOs or the menu files, and it's actually run our Hirens because we've got the 5-second default on there, so it's automatically run Hirens. But that's how to load the menu up much quicker. And if you look at the main menu again, which I've just rebooted back to, you'll see there's an extra entry here to refresh this FASTLOAD cached menu. So that shows that we're running from a cached menu. And if you want to, if you add any new payload files to this Easy2Boot drive, they won't now automatically appear in this main menu because it's been cached from before. So the way to, if you add new ISO files or any payload files or change the menu files, then what you need to do is run this entry here, which refreshes the cache, so it re-enumerates all the files on the drive in the main menu folder and adds them into the cache menu. So you see now it's enumerating the files again, so any new payload files that you've added will get added into the cached menu. And again now it's move it quickly so it doesn't automatically boot. It's now moved, it's now refreshed the menu so that any new ISO that you've added will appear in the main menu. Now you may have noticed that there are some grub4dos messages when you boot to grub4dos, which you might not want, and we can patch this. So if we enter the password, the menu, and we press C, here, we go into the grub4dos console, and we can run the patchme program. So which is in /iso/ docs patchme. So just type in iso docs patchme and press enter. And what will happen is that it'll ask if you want to prevent the version header from being displayed in grub4dos and the memory values. You can say yes or no to that. If you want the version number displayed, then just say no. And it'll patch the rest of grub4dos. It says it's finished, so let's press the key to reboot. And you should now see that there are no messages from grub4dos at all displayed. And you can get rid of the messages from Easy2Boot by using that reader and reader p variables, which is in the myetb.cfg file. And the last thing I want to show you is the skins or the themes. So if we go to the docs folder, you'll see that we've got some E2B templates, as I've called them. So these are template files. So we'll have a look at Jolene, for instance. You see there's two files there. One is a my-E2B config file, and the other is the background file, which in this case is a bitmap.gz, a compressed file. So if we just copy those, go back to the ISO folder, and then paste those back in again. We'll just overwrite my old one. And then we'll just boot that and see what it looks like. And there we go. You see it's the same menu, but we've got no border around it. And we've changed the background, we've changed the text slightly, and I've got E2B Jolene theme demo down there at the bottom, just here. So you can have a look at any of these templates here and just drop them into your ISO folder and try them out. And you can see, if you look for instance at alliums, have a look at the my-E2B.cfg file, and you can see what changes I've made. So here I've set the font to antique, for instance. I've prevented the screen from I've allowed the screen to be shown, the background to be shown as soon as possible using these codes here. I've changed the position and the colours of the headers, etc. And you can just configure these how you want. So I'll copy the alliums one onto here to show you what that looks like. And you can see there's no messages there, and there's the different font. We've got numbers on the menus here and different colours, etc.